what you're asking is the basis of anybody who's looking to start a business. And it's not that we can't create products for other people, but it's not where you're going to make the money in business. Okay, so you were asking about business and what sort of a business you should set up or what you should do for work. I just thought that was a really good opportunity to have a chat because it's an interesting, it's an interesting concept in anything that you try to teach. Is you should be able to teach what you do to a kid, all right? So if I understand what I'm teaching well enough, it should be easy enough for somebody like you who's under 14 years old sort of thing to be able to understand what I'm talking about. So if you don't understand it well enough, it means that if you don't understand what I'm saying, it means I don't understand what I'm talking about well enough. So I thought it was a good thing to run through because what you're asking is the basis of anybody who's looking to start a business. So you were saying initially what it is that what should I do for work sort of thing. So if we're looking at what you should do for work, then it's got to start with the planning idea of what you want to end up doing. And so I would be considering for you as a female that at some point in your future, you're probably going to want to get married and have a family and all that sort of stuff. So if you have a job where you have to do all the work and everything's completely reliant on you, so if you don't go to work, you don't get paid sort of thing as an employee, then it can make it harder when you're wanting to have a family because it's like, oh, well, we did have this lifestyle and this money, but now I've had to stop working and I don't want to work for the first, say, 3 years of the baby's life, or I don't want to work until they're out of school again. Like, if you just have a job, then you have to stop your job and something else has to happen in that time. Primarily your husband or whatever is going to have to provide the income for you, right? Or you could look to set up a business, and there's a few ways you can do it, where there is still money coming in even if you're not doing things on a full-time basis. You might be quite happy to do one day a week or a couple of afternoons a week just doing your part of the business, where you then don't need to worry about having a job or over that period of time not having a job, right? So you need to look at the kind of business that you could be part of or do on your own that is going to give you that freedom to do what you want, right? So we start off with, you have to get skills, right? So you said earlier, well, if I start working, maybe I can just work at Woolies or something like that. And you can, right? And working at Woolies just teaches you the basics of having a job. It means that you can turn up to work, you prove that you can be reliable, you prove that you can, show up continually at the right time, do a particular job. You can learn a basic set of skills like how to use a checkout or how to pack shelves, right? And that's fine. But that's probably not the best use of your time if you're trying to learn a skill so that you can turn that into a business, okay? Now, if you want to get into corporate management, you want to work for a big company where you work as a manager in an office somewhere, working at Woolworths may not be the worst idea, because if you do that, you can work your way up into management inside of Woolworths, and then you can learn, management type training in Woolies, right? So that makes it a possible kind of path, but again, it's probably not the best one. Then you look at, you have to learn a certain set of skills, right, to be able to do your job well. So what you're going to do is you're going to learn a base set of skills in whatever you do. Then you're going to build on those skills, and then eventually you'll have enough group of skills that you can do something more business orientated with. If you're going to just go, I just want to run a business, I'm just going to pick a business and I'm just going to run a business from the beginning, that's a harder avenue because you don't have all of the skills on what to do. So number one, from my experience and what I didn't do, but if I was starting again, I think one of the best things you could do is find a job in sales. Okay? So what's the number one thing that any business needs?
Well, sales.
It needs money, right? So where do you get money from?
Someone working for you?
No. Where do you get money from?
People.
Customers. Yep. Okay, so we need customers to have a business. Where and how do we get customers?
By sales.
Marketing and sales, right? So marketing is simply letting people know that your stuff exists, right? Sales is convincing them to buy it. So marketing, you can learn the basics of marketing quite quickly. There's a million online courses of what marketing is, how to, show up on Instagram or Facebook or make an ad or whatever, right? So that part's reasonably easy. And there's a lot of detail in that. Like you can have a career as a marketer and become the world's best marketing person. That's a really decent career option because it's a skill and it's a need that anybody that runs a business has, right? But it's one part of running a business. So marketing simply gets people to know that you have something to sell, gets them to know about your product. And then you've got sales. So sales is the key part of, hey, I've got something to sell. I think you should buy it. And if I'm good at sales, by the time we're finished having a conversation, you'll be going, oh, sure, I'd love to buy that. How do I get that? When can I get that? Can I get it now? So if you're good at the sales side, people will be very, very keen to buy your thing, right? And it's where most businesses fall down, or at least have their first major struggle, is on sales. So, and there's a lot of different, details inside of sales, but I'll give you, I guess the example from, when we were running the electrical solar business when we were up around Canberra. So we were struggling to get enough business. And one of the biggest reasons for that is I didn't know how to market and I didn't really know how to sell. I was just lucky enough that we existed in a business where people just needed us. They just needed somebody and I was there. So if something broke, they go, oh, I need an electrician, or I need somebody to come and install solar or fix my solar. And we're in small communities, so somebody knew that that's what I did, and they would say to their friend, oh, you should call Simon because he does that stuff. And they would call me and I would go and do the work, right? So I was getting enough work just to get by on that. But we never grew to a massive business, right? And the reason for that is I never did anything in the way of marketing. I did some advertising that was, I got caught by good salespeople, right? So here's something about sales. Sales is about persuading people to do what you want them to do, right? So I want you to buy my thing, right? And if I'm really good at sales and talking and convincing, I'll convince you to buy my thing, right? Now, what happens if I'm not the best charactered person and I have something a bit dodgy, but I just want you to buy it because I want money, but I don't actually care about you? What happens then?
Well, then no one's going to buy your thing.
Other way, people will buy, right? But they're then very soon going to find out that what you sold them didn't really do what you said. You kind of lied to them about what the benefit they were going to get out of it, and, all that. And so what happens is that if you're good at sales, you can sell anything. But if you don't have good intentions and you don't have a good ethics behind you, then you cheat, steal and lie to make a sale. You get the sale, but then everybody's going to hate you and you're going to destroy your reputation, right? So you're like, here's this little pouch thing, and it's made of, I don't know, African fur skin or some such thing, and it's amazing and it's wonderful and you should have it and it has all these benefits and amazing. And really it was 50 cents and made in China. And, I bought a bucket load of them for 10 cents each, and I'm going to sell them for $50 each, and I'm going to lie to you about how good they are and what they do, right? So then I sell that to you. And then what happens is you get home and go, oh, right, here's this amazing thing. I'm so pumped about this. I'm all excited. And you open it up and you're like, oh, actually, it's not that great. And it doesn't kind of do what the guy said it was going to do. And I'm actually a bit disappointed I bought that now. That was a waste of money. And now I'm not happy that I bought that thing. And now when I have a friend who says, for you, your friend goes, oh, how was that thing that you bought? And you're like, well, I think I got ripped off. They're like, oh, well, I was thinking of buying one. You're like, no, I probably wouldn't. What happened to my business? All right. So I might be good at sales, but if I don't do it with the right intention behind me, then I'm lying to people and I become a terrible person. And you will build a reputation on however you do sales. And so you've got to be careful in sales, because the only difference between, so sales is persuasion. You're persuading somebody to do something that they otherwise hadn't considered doing, right? So I'm going to almost. You are in essence, in a simple term, yes, you are forcing somebody. Now you can force somebody to do something good. Okay, so if there's a small kid running towards a road, right, and you yell at them, or you know, they're about to do something, you're like, I really wouldn't do that, and you're convincing them not to do something or to do something, right? You're trying to force them to do and see things your way so they will make a particular action or change. And so you can do that with really good intention. I'm trying to stop the kid running out on the road. I'm trying to stop them touching the stove. Like, I'm on the other side of the lounge room and they're about to do it, and I'm going to use my words. I'm not going to go and grab them, but I'm going to use my words to convince them not to do something or not to do something, right? And that's all sales is. You're convincing people to do something or not do something so they make the decision you want them to, right? Ultimately in sales, in business, we're trying to get them to make the decision to buy. So the first part of sales then is to understand that you are trying to persuade, coerce, and manipulate somebody's decision making so that it works in your favor. The only difference between that being persuasion and manipulation is the intent as to whether you have their best interests at heart or yours. So this is where, for me, I found I struggled in sales because I was approaching sales and trying to sell to people out of being desperate. I need money in the business, so now I'm getting desperate trying to convince people they should buy my thing, and because I have a good intention behind it, if I didn't feel they were a good fit, then it was like, I can't honestly sell to this person, so I need to let them walk away. I also had the issue that I had a poor mentality in how I saw money. Okay, so I didn't think I thought money was too hard to come by because of my personal experience. So then when people had an objection to, oh, look, we'd like to buy your off-grid solar thing, but yeah, that's pretty expensive. And I'd be going, in my head, I'd be like, yeah, it is pretty expensive, isn't it? And then I would lose the ability to be able, like, I know it's the best solution for them, but then I would fall into my own head and I would not do any good at sales because I didn't learn sales. And it was really a big hold up and still has been a hold up in the business. So as a business owner, my job is to find out where all the problems in the business are and fix them. That's primarily my only job. So I discovered I'm not real good at sales. So I found somebody who was really good at sales and I put them into the business, right? And so being good at sales is one of those really big parts that if you could learn, you get into a job where you start as maybe a salesperson on a telephone, right? So you work for some business somewhere and they say, look, this is what we sell. Now the trick on this is to do it ethically. You need to be able to believe in the product. So let's go with 2 examples just so you can understand. Let's say you get a job working with somebody who's selling really cheap shoes, okay? And they look good, but they fall apart really quickly. All right, and your job is to reach out to people on the phone, talk to them and say, hey, noticed that it'd been a while since you'd bought shoes, or hey, have you ever considered these shoes? Do you need shoes? Whatever they get you to say on the phone. And you're calling a bunch of people trying to sell shoes to them. All right? Now, you're talking to me saying you should buy shoes from me. You know they're not really good. And I go, so they look good. Are they a good quality shoe? Well, to make the sale, what do you need to say?
Yes.
Are they good quality?
No.
Right. So now you've got a dilemma, right? Now you've got a problem of whether you have integrity in yourself to say, I can't sell these because you asked me if they're good quality and I know they're not. So if I lie to you, I'll make the sale. But if I tell you the truth, you're not going to buy them. And if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't buy them either. So what do? Well, if you've got integrity, you wouldn't sell them. So this is where you need to pick your job well in the first place. Have a look at the business and what they're selling. So you have a look at the shoes that they're selling and you're like, they're a bit rubbish. Oh, I wouldn't buy them. It's like, right, well then don't work for them and don't sell them. If you don't believe in it, don't work for them and don't sell them, right? But if you can find something, let's say it's really nice dresses, right? And they're made beautifully, they're good value. Like if you were to go to a different shop and buy them, they're about the same price. So you're not ripping people off, but yours are a better quality, or this company's, their dresses are a better quality. They come from, maybe they come built in better factories and they're nicer and all the rest, okay? And you really like these dresses and you've got 10 of them yourself, right? Now you're gonna get a job where you're working for somebody, okay? And your job is to get on the phone and tell people that they should buy these dresses, right? And somebody goes, they look all right. Like I haven't had one before. Are they good quality? Are they comfortable?
You would say yes.
Well, you're gonna say, well, I own 10 of them. They're amazing. They're like my favorite dresses because they really are. So now because you believe in the product, you can sell it really easy and you're not lying to people, right? You're going, yeah, these are amazing. Like, honestly, I own them. They're really, really good. And people will now go, oh, well, that's really good. And it's a lot easier to sell. And also, you know that you haven't told lies to anybody, right?
So you don't feel bad.
You're not going to feel bad, and you can build that. You have integrity and honesty in what you're saying, and now you can start to build that. Now you learn from the basics of working with that company, sales, you step up, you might end up being like a little team leader where you've got people that you're responsible for under you and you start training them and you become good at sales, right? So I would suggest that is how you would get started, right? And in today's world, you can find a job working in sales on the phones with somebody working remote. You can work from your mobile phone from home for most parts. You don't have to go and shift to wherever they are. So you could stay living quite cheaply in an area you're familiar with, around your friends, that sort of thing, so that it's not a big shock to the system, and you start working out. And you could start at 16, right? Turn 16, you could probably start as a junior working somewhere doing some kind of sales, right? And what you may find is that the first 5 businesses you work for, right, doing sales, you don't last very long because maybe you're not real good, okay? So here's the next part of that. If you're going to get a job doing sales, right, then you hop onto YouTube and you find all of the free information from people that have got a good reputation online on how to do sales, how to be good at sales. And there will be different techniques and different things you pick up. And so it's like, oh, cool. If I do that, next time I'm on the phone, I could say that better. Oh, that's a better way of dealing with that. And now what you're doing is you're finding all these tiny little improvements in your skill set and becoming better, right? And soon, if you keep doing that, you'll become really good at sales, all right? So I would expect, let's say you start at 16, right? I would expect by the time you're 18 to 20, right? 18 to 20, you'll be very good at sales if you study. And so by the time you're 18 to 20 years old, you're now pretty confident in sales. So if that's the case, then you can go, okay, I'm getting good at sales now. Great. I could maybe consider the other few skills that I need in getting into business. If you want to do business, you could start in your spare time at home, right? You're going to start doing, learning marketing, learning how a business functions, and start to build this idea of how a business works, and then looking at something you could then do as a business, right? Or you go, you know what, I'm good at sales and I'm making good money in the business that I'm in, right? The first thing I'd be doing is putting some of that aside in savings ready for when you want to start your business, so that you've got a little nest egg of money that you can spend to get going. If you're operating in the area of sales, you'll probably come across people who work in marketing, right? And you'll make friends and, all the rest. So let's say now you're going to go to different events things like masterminds, things like coaching and training and things like that, and you meet some other people, and you meet somebody who's similar to you, and but they're into marketing more so than into sales, and you're into sales. It's like, well, cool, maybe we can team up. And if you're really good at marketing, you can get people to come into the business. I'm really good at sales, so I can get them to buy. Well, there's only a couple more pieces to the business pie, and now we've got an entire business, right? All we need now is the product and how we're going to deliver it to people, right? Because if we've got something to sell, we know who we're going to sell it to. We can use marketing to tell them about it. We use sales to make sure that they buy from us. And then we need delivery to make sure we get it to them. That's your entire business model. So then we go, okay, well, what do we want to sell? And this is where you then have to do, again, we're back into planning for where we want to be, not where we are right now. You need a product or a service that you're going to sell that is going to be something that you could grow the business on. So let's say the first thing you need to do if you're looking at a business is, what do people need, right? What are the basics of life?
Food, shelter, and clothing.
Yep. Okay. Food, shelter, clothing. So if you can find a good business that provides one of those, and something that people are likely to still want even if they start getting pretty tight on money. So consider you've got mum and dad, a couple of kids, mum and dad both work, and then mum isn't working anymore, so their income halves, and now they've just got dad's money and they're really trying to get by, right? Times are tough, they don't have a lot of spare money. What do they need? Well, they're still going to need food,
shelter, and clothing.
Right. So there are two ways of looking at this. You can either try to be the cheapest in the market so that anybody who's got $2 can buy something off you, right? But then you sacrifice quality. You're just cheap and nasty. But you'll still have a big market because people go, well, I'll buy the $2 thing instead of the $10 thing because it's cheaper. Most people, especially if they have a poorer mentality, are going to go that way because they see the instant cost of something. They don't look at the value over a period of time. And so if they're just looking at the cost, they're going to buy the cheap one. It's why the supermarkets exist instead of the little grocery shops, right? Because you can buy similar no-name brand type things much cheaper. So they go, oh, my groceries are cheaper. What they don't realise is that, if you get really cheap food, right, it doesn't taste as good. It doesn't have as good of ingredients in it, right?
Yeah.
So if you go cheap, you'll get a heap of customers, but the product's crap,
Yeah.
right? Or you go the other way. You go, okay, let's make a really high quality product and we'll not be able to sell to as many people, but we can sell to better clients who are more likely to have money when the poorer, cheaper end of the market has run out of money. So let's say times get tough, like at the moment, things are getting more expensive, people are finding it harder to buy groceries and food. So you've got the people who they've already built their business or they've already built their wealth and they've got money and they've set themselves up for life and they're doing all right at the moment. They're still driving nice cars around, they still have their nice house, they've still got good paying jobs, all the rest, right? So do you want to sell to those people? Or do you want to sell to the people who they're whinging and complaining every week because they can barely afford to buy milk and bread, right?
Yeah.
So which customer, straight away, which customer would you like to sell to?
Well, the one who has a nice car, house.
Yeah. And it's not that we can't create products for other people, but it's not where you're going to make the money in business. So the way I would look at it is, if you really have a heart to help people who can't really afford things, you need to find another way to do it. And what we're going to be doing in our business soon, and this is a tactic that I learned, is that you have two arms to the business. You have the main business that makes the money, and you basically have a charity part, right? And that charity part is where you take profits out of the business, and it's not because you have to, it's because you want to, okay? You want to build the business to a point where you can take some of the profits out and you do these projects to help people, and you do it for free. So you might get other people that help donate money or something, but you have this arm where it's purely to help people, right? But your main business has to make money. So this is back to the ethics of business, right? If you know somebody has $20, right? They don't have a lot of money, right? They got $20 is the only spare money they've got, right? Your product costs $2,000. If you're good at sales, you might be able to convince them to spend their $20 and then go into debt to buy your $2,000 thing, okay?
Depends what the $2,000 thing is.
Correct. Now, if you know it's going to really, really help them, and at the end they're going to be way better off if they do it, even though they can't see that, then maybe it's a really good thing to be able to do that, okay? So for some people, like I'll give the example of what we do with the off-grid solar. A lot of people think, well, I can't afford $30,000 to buy a good quality off-grid system. I'm just going to buy a cheap $10,000 one off eBay or something because it's cheaper. I don't have the $30,000. Now I know that they're going to break. Those systems break, they fail, they catch fire, like they're terrible. That's why they're not approved products from a safety point of view in Australia, right? So I know all of these problems that the customer doesn't know. The customer's just looking at it going, well, I don't have $30,000 to spend, or I don't want to spend $30,000, so I'll just buy the cheap, nasty thing and hope I get lucky, right? So if I can convince them then that they should go and spend $30,000, take out a loan, financing, and go into debt for it, okay?
Yeah.
If I can convince them of that, I know that their life will be better because they have, yes, they've gone into debt for it. Yes, it's a stretch for them to be able to afford it, but I know in the long term, it's actually going to save them way more than they'd ever pay in interest on the loan, right? It's going to be a much better outcome. They're going to have a much more reliable power system, like just everything about it is better, right? But they don't see that. They just see, well, you're $30,000 and they're $10,000, so you have to be the worst option because you're dearer. Now, if I'm good at sales, I can convince that person to go, actually, here's the value you're actually buying by going into getting a loan, ending up paying interest, but you end up with a far better solution in the end, which is actually worth it, right? In that sense, then yes, you can work with people who don't have much money and help them find a solution that they can't really afford, but you find a way around it to help them. That is good. If you have something that they don't really need, let's say a nice jacket. They need a jacket. Yours are $200 for a jacket, but they can buy one from Kmart for $20. Both are going to keep them warm. Yours is going to last longer, but both are going to keep them warm and do the job, and they don't really have $200 spare to be buying a jacket, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I don't know if I'd feel good trying to convince them to spend $200 they don't have on a jacket when a $20 one will actually do, at least for the next year or two, in which case their financial situation might get better, and then maybe they can afford the good jacket, right? So in that sense, your other customer that you're selling, let's take our off-grid solar system for, they've just gone and bought $500,000 worth of land. They're going to spend $800,000 and build their dream home on it, and it's going to be this big. So they've got a property or two that they're selling back in the city that's going to give them probably, let's say, $1 million. Then they're going to take out a bit of a loan for a few $100,000 to finish all of the building costs, and they're going to just make this really nice home, and this is going to be their forever home, right? But it's in the middle of nowhere, there's no power lines, and they need a good off-grid system, right? Now, that customer, 100%, every day of the week, it is worth getting a really good off-grid system so that you don't have all of the problems, and we know that they have the money. They can afford to do it. They're planning this new house build and they're working out all their costs, so they know how much of a loan to take out, and they're happy to do it. They have the ability to do it. They're still working, so they can pay the loan out really easy. Am I going to feel bad when the right solution for their power needs to give them everything they want is going to be $80,000? Do I feel bad? No, because I know that I'm helping them. I know they're getting great value for money, and I know that they can afford to do it. So none of that I feel bad about, right? So who do I want to try and sell to? The person that I have to really try to figure out if I should convince them to spend money they don't really have and go into debt that they can't really afford. Although it is a better outcome, it's still a difficult thing to do. Or do I want to sell to the person who's building millions of dollars worth of home, who's happy to spend the money? Who do I want to sell to?
The one who's happy.
The one who has the money and is happy to spend it,
Yeah.
right? And when you're selling higher value things to higher value people, they understand that it's worth it. People who don't have much money tend to just look at the price tag, right? And so it's a lot harder to convince somebody that doesn't have money that they should spend more money on quality because they don't really get it, right? So now you're going to have a look at your business that you're going to build, right? So you've spent a couple of years working in sales, you've got good at sales, right?
Yeah.
Then you meet a friend who's good at marketing, okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, with the two of us, we've got sales and marketing covered. That's really, really good. Okay, now we're going to pick a product. All right, what product are we going to pick? Well, something that people are going to need. Food, shelter, clothing related, and something that is going to be a suitable solution to most people that I'm going to talk to, right? But I'm going to aim for the better quality rather than the cheapest price, because I can sell to better quality customers, I'm going to feel better about it, and I know it's going to be better value, right, by doing quality. So now we pick our product, right? Then you go, okay, so we know roughly who we're targeting as far as our customers. This is the marketing side. Am I going to put an ad out on, let's say, Facebook, like a group that says, let's say you're doing clothing, cheapest t-shirts in the area group? Is that where I want to market my product?
No.
No. You want to find people that are into fashion, people that are into maybe going out, they're into nice restaurants and things like that. Because if you go out to a nice restaurant, you probably want a nice outfit. Those people are going to be a good customer fit for you.
Yeah.
So this is where your marketing is going to find the right sort of customers. Cool. Now let's talk back about your dresses, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to find the product, which may be you work with somebody that hand makes these beautiful dresses, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to find someone that hand makes beautiful dresses and sell them, what's the problem in that business? Can you think of one?
No.
Okay. So the biggest problem is going to be volume. How many dresses can they make?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So I can make 3 a week. You're probably, unless you're going to charge like $10,000 a dress, it's going to be very hard to make a big successful business out of that.
Yeah.
Even that's not going to get very big. So then you have to go, well, if we're going to do these, handmade dresses that are really expensive, we're actually going to need to find like
More people.
30 people that can make these dresses.
Yes.
Right? And now you're dealing with manufacturing, which is a pain in the butt, because 3 people might make really good dresses and the 4th one keeps making mistakes. So now you've got to have somebody, you've got to have a manager to watch those people to make sure all the products come out the same, and if they don't, you've got to go back and fix it, and it makes it difficult, okay? Or you find somebody that runs a manufacturing business who makes really nice high quality dresses, but they do it in a factory and they make a lot of them, okay? So now you can find they're using good fabrics, they're paying their people well, they're doing all the right things as far as the business goes, but they can produce volume, right? So they can do 1,000 dresses a day, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you've got something that you can scale, you can do big orders, big volume on, right?
Yeah.
So now that would be a good business. So you find your product, you make sure that it can grow, that you can get enough of the product, make sure that there's more than one supplier that you can get it from, right? If this supplier doesn't have it, you can go to this one over here and you can still make sure that your customer gets what they want. Then your marketing, and you could either do this, or like I said, you find a friend, you find somebody that does marketing, or you do it, and you tell a whole bunch of people all over the place, primarily with social media and advertising online, that you have this amazing product, right? Then those people call up, or they go to your shop, or whatever it is, and you convince them to buy, okay? So then once you convince them to buy, what do you got to do? What's the last piece of the puzzle?
Don't know.
So I've got on the computer, I've seen your address, and I'm like, I'm going to buy that for my daughter. So I go in and I fill out my details and I pay the money, right? Now what?
Now we've got to send it to you.
Now you've got to send it to me. So now you've got to work out how, okay?
Well, most people just do it in Australia Post.
Right, so if you're just going to put it in the mail, right? Who's doing that?
Australia Post.
They're going to come to your lounge room and fold the clothes up and...
No, we're going to fold the clothes and then put it in the mail.
Is there a better way you could do it?
Maybe.
So what would the better thing be? In short, if somebody else did it for you.
Yes, someone else did it for me. Then.
Okay, so you can probably work with your supplier that you might have to pay a little bit more, but they individually pack the clothing rather than just put it all into one big cardboard box for you, right?
Yeah.
And they individually pack the clothing and then they send it directly to the customer rather than sending it to you, okay? So now you've got rid of your distribution issue and you've made it somebody else's problem, and they simply send it out to the customer direct. Now, it may not work. To get the product you want, you may have to buy bulk and then do distribution. And a lot of products you have to do that. You buy the whole thing in bulk, and then you've got to buy the sleeves or whatever that you're going to put the product in. You need to make up like a little pamphlet or something and put in there and package it up and send it out to the customer, right? It's labor intensive to do that. When you start, you could start doing that yourself, but very quickly that would be one of the things you're going to go, right, I need to employ somebody who can sit here, and as the orders come in, they're going to work in this little, it might be the back shed of the house for now. We've got the racks of our clothes, and hey, there's an order for that type of dress in a medium size. You need to put that in the sleeve, you need to package it up, you need to put it in the envelope, and then at the end of the day, you're going to take this big bucket of stuff down to the post office and send them off to all the customers, right? So that may be how you run the business, and that's not a bad business model. As you get bigger, you're going to have, you go to warehousing, where you now have a lot more people doing that whole process. But where this becomes a bigger game changer for you when you're looking at your job is you can pick a piece of that business puzzle from the beginning all the way through to the end and become really good at one piece, right? So let's say you don't like sales, right? It's just not fun, you don't enjoy being on the phone, whatever it is. Then
It's not your thing.
it's not your thing. You really struggle with it. It doesn't work well for you. You might find learning marketing, digital marketing, learning how to, get things known for other people. You might find that you're really good at it. You understand the technology, you understand how to create videos and how to create the captions and how to do all the bits and pieces on stuff on social media to help people get found and how to build that out, right? So you might find that that's your thing. Okay, you could be the marketing person in our story rather than the sales person in our story, right? So marketing and sales are probably two of the biggest pieces of a business puzzle, right?
They're the hardest.
Not particularly the hardest. Let's take my electrical and solar business when we were up in Canberra way, right? The hardest part of that business is the technical going to work and being the electrician, right? But I found that the easiest part because I'd spent years learning a skill and becoming that person, right? So that bit was easy for me, but I didn't know that I needed to do marketing and sales and be any good at it. And so that piece of the puzzle was missing out of my business. And so we always struggled to get enough work and enough good quality work because I didn't understand any of that. Okay, so this is the difference between being good at a particular task and then running a business. So running a business, so if you're going to learn your particular skill, when you get into going to run a business, you then need to train how to run a business. You need to do a bunch of learning on what to do because your job is no longer just your little piece of the puzzle. And if you have a business, as soon as that business, and the aim of any business is to grow bigger, right? And it's where you make more money. If it's viable and making money when it's small, then if you make it bigger, it'll make more money. So if you're going to go from doing just your job to running the business, right, you need to know what it is that a business needs to do because your job is not going to be doing, let's say you do the marketing, right? Very quickly, you need to find somebody to employ in the business who does marketing so that you don't do it anymore, right? Even though you learned this skill growing up to learn that skill of marketing, you very quickly need to replace yourself. Now, you can tell whether they're doing a good job because you know their job so well because you learnt for years how to do it, right? So you can give them some guidance and direction, go, look, this is how it needs to be done, this is what I want, right? You'll find it very easy to employ somebody because you understand that industry so well. But your job is going to be, right, we need the product, we need marketing, we need advertising, we need sales, and we need distribution. That's our business. You then need to go, I need to have somebody, and it can be the same somebody, but I need a somebody in all of those spots. And then I need to just make sure that everybody's doing their job in those spots.
Yeah.
So it might be you and two friends, right? But in between you guys, somebody is overseeing the business and somebody else is doing the work. So now, when you start a business the first time, you're going to be the person overseeing the business and the person doing the work. As you start making money, the first thing you should do is work out how quickly you can put somebody else in to fill those spots, all right? Now, to have a business that's running really well, you now have a few people doing the product acquisition side. You have a few people doing marketing and advertising. You have a few people doing sales. You have a few people doing distribution. Now you need managers. So you're going to have somebody who's going to look after sales and they run a sales team. You're going to have somebody that looks after logistics and distribution and they are going to have 4 or 5 people that work under them doing all of that. You're now going to sit above this, and this is where in the business planning stage you do what's called an organizational chart or an org chart. and you map out who's going to be doing what. So you're going to have this person, they're going to manage these managers, and those managers are each going to manage their different teams, and that's how the business is going to operate, right? Your aim is to be the one organising all of that. So when you start, you're doing all of the jobs, right? Or it might be you and a friend start the business and you're both just doing all the jobs. But if the plan is done right, then you've got the right thing to sell to the right people and you're making money. Then you start doing more of it, then you get busy, then you employ people, and your aim of employing people is to get you out of doing the stuff and you do the organising. Once you get to that point, right, if you've got good managers, and this is where you should aim to get a business if you're young, in my opinion, before you're at a point where you're wanting to have kids and stuff and all that sort of thing in your life. If you can get to the point where you have a level of management between you and the people doing the work in the business, you can manage remotely. You can talk to your managers a couple of hours a day and then leave them to do their work. You can do the decision making, you can fix the big problems, and you don't have to be hands-on, which means you can be somewhere else. You can be at home with your kids, right? So building a business like that is a really good thing, but my advice is that you pick one of those parts of the business, one of those critical parts. You learn that really well because you can make good money in that as an income to start, and you put some money aside so you've got money to start your business. You learn different businesses and that you're a part of, and you find something you really like, that you feel that you could sell to people, and you would feel good about selling it to them, and away you go. And then it sounds simple, but I could just put a business together. Once you start, you're then going to learn all the other problems that exist in business, and it's to get it up and running to the point where it's making good money is a lot of just hard work. You just need to do lots and lots of hard work. And that's the bit that most people think, I'm going to start a business and then I'm just going to make lots of money straight away, or very quickly I'll make lots of money. You've got to expect that for 3 to 5 years, if you're really good, 3 to 5 years, you won't make any money. It's just going to be really, really hard work to try and get it to make any kind of good money. Because as you make money in the business, you need to take all that money, or a lot of it, put it back into the business to employ the next person or do the next thing that you've got to do in the business, right?
I've got a question. Should you start learning sales, marketing, and learn one of those? Then should you have a better business if you know how to do at least one of them?
Yes. And the reason that you have a better business if you know one of those sales, marketing type roles is because they are one of the most critical to help your business grow. So even though you're not going to end up being the one doing it in the business in the end, you're going to be managing, it does mean that when you go to hire somebody, it means when you go to hire somebody, you're going to know exactly what it is that they need to do and how that's going to work. And you're going to know whether they're doing a good job or a bad job because you're good at that particular skill. So you'll be a lot quicker to hire a good person in that realm. For example, for me, I don't have a background in sales. All right? I don't fully understand sales to any great depth. I'm learning, but it's not something I've trained for. So when I'm hiring people to work in sales in the business now, I am relying on my limited experience to make a good decision. And I don't always get it right because I don't have the depth of experience to know. I can still do it, and eventually I will find good people, but I'll probably make more mistakes hiring people than just finding the right person straight away. If I'm hiring an electrician, then I'm probably going to be able to find a good electrician fairly quickly because I know what a good electrician should do. I know how to measure their work. I know what good looks like. I know what bad looks like. And if they're not up to standard, I know, okay, that's not good enough, and I can either deal with it, fix it, or get rid of them. So I can go through that process much faster if I already understand that job role, right? So yes, if you can get, and I would also, you were saying earlier, whether you would get a job, working with me straight away, right?
Yeah.
So I would say when you first start learning a skill or in any kind of a career or any kind of skill, right? You're going to go get a job to learn skills. The first 2 or more years, at least 2 years, you need to learn from somebody else. And as much as let's say I'm the best business person in the world, I would still make you go and get a job with somebody else for the first few years before you potentially came back and worked in my business. And the reason for that is because we're family there is a tendency that I won't treat you the same as I would just any other employee, right? The way I teach you, the things I let you get away with, I would just have biases towards you because you're my daughter, so that if we were doing, let's say you do the wrong thing, a normal person, I might just go, look, that's like the 5th time you've done that. I need to fire you. Like, this is not acceptable. I'm going to be far more reluctant to fire you as my daughter, which means you'll get away with bad behaviour further, not because of anything else other than I don't want to fire you because you're my daughter. But if you go and work for another company, you're just another employee. So if you don't perform and you're not good enough, then they will fire you, right? Because you're just another employee. Now I can give you a hug after that when you're crying, going, oh, I got fired from my job. It's like, okay, but you'll find another one. Pick yourself back up, go get another job, right? It's a lot harder to do if you work for me. So in those early years where you're developing your skills, the best way to do it is work for somebody else. After that, sure, we can look at you coming back and working with me, and I can help you along the way, but working directly for me has issues. And I've seen that with a lot of people where they start working in a particular industry. They work for their dad who has the business or whatever, and they just behave different. They get away with a lot of stuff that nobody else would get away with. They can be lazier and they don't get fired because, it's their dad that owns the business, so they're just here because of him. They're not here because they're any good at it. Right? Yeah. It's a terrible way to do business. So, yes, you should always start your working career working for somebody else. Yeah. But does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. And so if your goal is to have a business, then a business, when it's running right, should be able to have managers in place that run the business even if you're not there all the time, right? Which is what you want to be able to try and do in your business, especially for you if you're talking about, when you get older and you're going to have a family and all that sort of stuff. If you've got a business that has managers running it, you don't have to worry about being there all the time. If you run a business that is reliant on you being there all the time to do all the work, then the minute you go away, the business falls over, then it's kind of worthless, because as soon as you stop for a year or two to have kids or do whatever, right, then the whole business collapses. So you've got to either choose to, there's a couple of ways you could do it. You either choose to get it to a point where it has that management level and it can run itself even if you're not there full time. That's a really good solution. The other one is to have business partners, right? Where you've already discussed from the beginning that between the business owners, the business partners that are running this business, that you're all going to recognize, okay, there's going to be a time where you're going to go away for a few years and have your family, and you're not going to be as active in the business, but it's okay. We'll be able to do that work, or however you're going to manage that. The other one is that you can sell the business. If you can get it to a point where it has a level of management that you don't need to be involved, you don't have to keep the business in that time, you could sell the business off. At that point, it's commercially viable and you could sell it. And then you make money from, a good chunk of money when you sell the business, and now you've got money to live on. And once you're done with your kids thing, you've still got a nest egg of money and you could start a business again. That might be a way you want to look at it. The worst thing you can do is be where you are a self-employed person, where you're just running a business so that you've got enough work so that you can have a job. Because, like I said, the minute you stop working, the whole thing falls over. And most small businesses get stuck at that point. It's just, I've got this little business where I sell dresses. I do it out of the spare room and I make the ads, I call the customers. When they pay the money through the online store, I pack up all the orders and then I send them off, right? So then if you go, all right, I'm going to go away for 2 years, whatever your reason is, I'm going to stop the business for 2 years. What happens to the business?
Collapse.
It falls over. So what's the point of doing that? It's not, okay? So that's something you need to consider how you want to do that. Or you may say, you know what, I really like the idea of business, but I actually would like to get married and have kids and have a family first. And in that time, I can learn skills and work for other people and learn things. And then once my kids are like 5 or 6, I might start doing my own business, right? That might be your plan. But the best thing to do is actually think right through this process and have a plan before you start. I did it the wrong way around when I started. So I was a good electrician and I went, well, I'm good at my job, I should run my own business, right? And I spent 10 years being very, very, very bad at business because I was good at my trade, but I had never studied how to do business. Just like I hadn't studied sales or I hadn't studied marketing. I didn't realize I had to do all that. I was just going, I'll just go out and I'll just ask people if they need an electrician, they'll say yes, and I'll go do the work. I didn't understand the finances. I didn't understand administration, how to do invoicing properly, how to follow up to make sure I got paid, the legal requirements of what I had to do. You know, there's all this other stuff in the background of business. It's a whole bunch of stuff you've got to know as well, which is why if you're going to do business of any sort, you need to do a training program of some sort around business. You can't just, you can kind of wing it, but it doesn't work very well. All it does is very quickly teaches you don't know anything. You're like, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work? So when you grow a business, your whole job when it comes to business is, I need to find out why. Let's say your ultimate plan in business is we want to make $100 million a year, okay? I want to make $100 million a year in the business. The only focus as the business owner is to go, what is it that is stopping us from making $100 million a year? All right? Find out what those things are and fix them. That's it. Like, there's nothing more to it than that. The problem is fixing it is very difficult, right? And one of the big things you will come back to fairly quickly is we just don't have enough customers that are buying that much stuff. So, okay, so how do you get more customers?
We've got to get good at sales or hire someone who's very good at sales.
Well, sales is only good if you've got people to sell to. So how do you get the people to sell to?
Marketing.
Marketing and advertising. And how do you do more marketing and more advertising?
More people, more workers coming to work for you?
Possibly. But when it gets into advertising, that's typically spending money on ads. Okay? So now you're into finance because this is budgeting. How much of a budget do we have to spend on marketing? Well, if we sell more, we can spend more on marketing, right? Okay. So now we've got what's called a growth plan or a growth bottleneck, depending on what it is. It's like, if we sell 10 things, how much money of that can we put aside to spend on marketing, right? And what we need to be able to do, if we can sell 10 things and have enough money in marketing that we can now sell 20 things, now you've got a growth plan, because now next month you spend all that on marketing, right? You get those people in, they go through the sales process and you sell 20. So if that maths works, for every 10 things that you sell, you've got enough marketing budget to find enough customers to sell 20 more things, right? That's great. So that means this month we sell 10. Next month we sell 20. The following month we're going to sell 40. The following month we'll sell 80. And then you can see you're starting to really make this big growth curve in the business. And that's awesome if you can make that work. Your issue is that you'll probably go, this month we spent, we had our 10 items come in, we spent the money and we only got 11 customers out of that. That's not good enough. What do we need to fix? Oh, the ads that we put out aren't really converting. The videos we did, people aren't really liking them. They liked that one, but the next 5 we did, they didn't really like. All right, so we need to fix that. And it's constantly finding the problems and fixing the problems. That's how you grow a business. The faster you can do it, the faster you can grow. But nobody just learns business and then instantly just gets it all perfect. You have to try, fail, and try and fail, and try and fail thousands of times. And you've got to realize that that's what it takes to do business. And so for a period of time, you might just barely have enough just to keep going. And if you run a business, you are going to want to quit very regularly. And you're going to go, why did I ever do this? This sucks, this is terrible. And then you need to get over that.
Try hard enough.
Well, you just need to get over that. Realize that you're going to have that feeling. And then just get over it and get back to work. All right? You just got to be very non-emotional about business. It's just, and this is where a plan and having a coach and having training really helps, because when you feel, oh, this sucks, you can go back and talk to your business coach and go, man, we keep putting these ads out and they're just not converting. I don't know what to do. And he might just go, well, it's simple. Whoever's doing your marketing is garbage. You need to fire them and get somebody else. Yeah, but I really like them. They're a really nice person. I think they're going okay. It's like, and your business coach is outside of your business and isn't emotionally invested into your business or you, and just goes, well, if he was good at what he was doing marketing wise, that would work really well. Clearly, he's just not good at it. So get rid of him and get somebody else. Oh yeah, you're probably right. No, I'm right. This is what you need to do. Okay. Then you go back and you're like, right, as a business owner, sorry, marketing person, your work's not up to standard. Now, you can fix all of that before that by building standards into your employment agreement with the person and go, okay, if you're going to work for me, here is requirements. This is what we call KPI, key performance indicators. At a minimum, we need what you do to result in this outcome. If you don't do that, then that's the minimum requirement. I need you to do better than that, but if you drop below that, then I'm probably going to have to get rid of you. But you set expectation in the beginning. This is what I need from you. This is what I'm going to pay you. Can you do that? Would you agree to this arrangement? They say yes. You're like, cool. And then you go, okay, every week, how'd we go this week? How'd we go this week? How'd we go this week? This is your job as a manager, as the business owner. Yep. Hey, we spent this money on you. You've done the work, but it's not doing what you said it would do. We're not getting the interest. We're not getting the customers. Oh, well, it's kind of the best I can do. I can't help it. It's like, yes, but I can fire you and find somebody who's really good at what they do, and they can do it better. So why am I going to hang on to you? Right? We agreed you would do this and I would get this outcome. I'm not getting the outcome. I'm paying you. Apparently you're doing your bit, but it's not working. How are we going to fix this? If they don't have a good answer and they can't fix it, you fire them. Right? And you go, right, sorry, I have to get that outcome, otherwise my business fails. No hard feelings. You're not up to the job. Right? And that's it. And so that is everything about business. You just start finding, okay, now we've fixed the marketing. Now my sales guy's terrible. All right, we either help him or we fire him, we get somebody else. I'm using hymns because hymns are just easier because I'm a hymn. You know what I mean? Yeah. So your job is just to manage and make sure the business makes money, and you find all the areas where it's not doing what it needs to and you fix them. And that's your job. And then you can have a bunch or a group of people that own the business and manage the business, either co-founders, co-owners, things like that, or a management team. And then collectively together, you all work on fixing these issues. And that's about it. So yes, I would suggest from the outset, you find one of those key parts of business, you learn it really well, you work for somebody else doing it, you become good at it, you do extra work, you train online, do whatever you can to become good at it. Once you've got that foundation sorted and you've done it for a while, then you can consider setting up an actual business. You find all the key parts that you need to your business, you do your plan, you work out what it is you're going to do, how you're going to achieve it, set out how that's going to occur, and then you start working, and then you just work really, really hard on finding all the areas that the business is no good at and all the things that are stopping it making it $100 million a year or whatever your goal is. And you just slowly, quickly, hopefully, you fix all the things where it's not making money and where all the problems are, and you just keep fixing things until it becomes amazing. And that is business.